Now, we do have some people who are going to be making their way here and coming a little late, but by and large, the most of us are here, so we may as well get started with the day. And I'd like to start by just reminding everyone, while Taryell is speaking, while the guest speaker is presenting, you will want to turn off your microphones and your cameras, and then. But then if you do have a question to ask, make sure to turn that microphone back on again, camera back on as well if you'd like. You can also put any questions in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat to make sure to respond to any of the questions that you have. And with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'll pass it over to one of the amazing interns that we have at the Rec Innovation Lab, who's been working with the various with all the stakeholders that we have, setting up workshops and just getting done all of the things that we have to get done in an incubator. And we're so lucky. I actually had a meeting today where somebody says, "How do you do all this?" And I said, "Well, I have help." So one of the amazing helpers that I have, one of the amazing people who's helping is Angela Merkins, and I'm going to pass it over to her so that she can then tell us a little bit more about what we have in store today. So Angela.
Thank you, Tanya. My name is Angela Merkins, and I'm an intern with the Rec Innovation Lab at Miramar College. And I would like to introduce Taryell Simmons. Taryell is a workforce consultant at Sage Business and Education. He's an RISE Urban Leadership graduate and a 2020 Rockwood Leadership Institute fellow. And he has an obsession with lifelong learning, and he has the privilege of working with thousands of students and employees and entrepreneurs and startups. We're really lucky to have him here today. But before I turn it over to Taryell, I'm going to ask that my teammate Nana, I just want to introduce her. She's been helping with this event, and I just want to introduce Nona. Thanks.
Okay, so hello, my name is Nona. Thank you for being here today. So I'll introduce the REC just a little bit. So the REC is, we're located at Miramar College, and we're an educational incubator that provides educational resources, training, and networking opportunities for founders of new startup companies. And also in the chat, I'll throw in a survey. Let's see, there we go. Survey, if y'all can fill that out towards the end, that would be great. I'll be posting it maybe a couple more times and then one last time at the end. So that would be great. And without further ado, I think we're ready for you, Taryell.
Okay, Nona and Angela, thank you so much for setting me up today. It's so good to be back. Even though we're in this virtual world, I love that you guys are doing this to connect and us to share resources. And I hope we have some fun today. So I'm gonna weave in some of the top soft skills and time management must have, but I'm gonna weave in a little bit of my story and my journey, and then also learn about some of your tips and tricks so we can share with each other, because this is a community of sharing, right? And sharing is caring. So we're gonna do that today. And I often if any guys had came on earlier, I was telling like I love doing these because I learn new tips from you guys as well, just as you're learning from me, because there's some things out there that I may have not stumbled across yet. And so I love coming into these spaces with you guys today. So with that being said, let's jump into today's session. Today, we're going to talk about the top soft skills of great entrepreneurs, learn some time management must-haves, and I'm going to share a little bit of my journey, entrepreneurial journey with you, just so you can get some feedback or some understanding of where it's grounded in when I talk about some of these strategies. And then I'm going to share a few resources for entrepreneurs. I'm not sure if you've attended any of my last workshops, but I always like to leave you guys with a little bit. And I see some new faces and some familiar ones. So some of it may be repeat, some of it will be new to you. And then we'll kind of go from there. All right. So who is an entrepreneur really? Let's start with that, right? When most of the time when people think of entrepreneurship, they often immediately go to startups, right? But there's so many different entrepreneurs out there, from those small businesses to scale startups to large companies to social entrepreneurship. You'll even see people who are still currently working their day job but have like that side hustle, that they're still entrepreneurs too, but they may not be full blown entrepreneur. I think that what's the term that they got for it? Somebody put it in the chat box for me. What's that term that they got for people who are doing entrepreneurship and still are in their career pathways, or in their 9 to 5? What are they saying in the chat box?
Oh, in the chat.
Or you can come out loud and say it. It's fine. I'll let that go.
Intrapreneur.
Entrepreneur. There you go. And you could kind of call me an entrepreneur because I still have a 9 to 5, but I still have some entrepreneurial endeavors that I work as well. So that's that new term that's out there that you'll kind of hear. So there's many different ways, or many different hats, or many different styles of entrepreneurship that you'll see out there when you look at the world of entrepreneurship. So my entrepreneurship journey actually started in Startup Weekend, and if you guys haven't participated in the Startup Weekend, I I highly encourage you to do so. And at the time, uh, when I got into the entrepreneurship journey, it was because Google had reached out to me because they wanted to promote this in neighborhoods of color around San Diego, mostly in the Black and Latino community. And then I was curious. After helping them promote it, and they encouraged me. They say, hey, you should come participate in this. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about the tech industry. And it's like, you don't need to know anything about the tech industry. You just need to have an entrepreneurial spirit, which you do, and you know about business. You need to come to this weekend thing. And so I participated, and then my team won. So what do you guys notice about, when you look at this picture, what are some things you notice about this team, or what you notice about this picture?
So I
Team.
recognize two of you.
You would. Who was the two that you recognized?
I see you over here, and then I also see another entrepreneur, Luis, who's been doing amazing things in the startup world.
Yes, he started up another venture called We the Plug, and he's doing a lot of different things in the tech space too. He also oversees Startup Grind, right? San Diego. So he oversees that venture as well. Anything else you guys recognize in this picture?
I see you got first place. No,
Say it again.
I said I see you got first place. I know that, but
We won first place. And then another thing I want to highlight is the diversity of our team. What not is pictured in there. One of we had a young lady, African American young lady who was with us in this group, and I attribute the diversity of our team because we all came from different backgrounds, had different ideas. We were and those differences of opinions really helped us with winning first place, because I remember at one point in our team we were all seeing it from a different angle and view, and although we were in the midst of in the beginning of this chaos of like really arguing it from the engineer speaking the engineer language, the marketing guy speaking marketing language, and we're all speaking different languages and talking from different terms of how we saw the project. Once we got down to the nitty gritty of it, of really saying, all right, I see your concerns. Let's look at a solution that we could put forth together that really talks about some of the things and concerns you're speaking about time that we got to the pitch competition, and they have that Shark Tank kind of setup where they asking these questions. What are you gonna do about this, or have you thought about this? We had an answer for every single question because we had found solutions by working through all of those different arguments or those pivotal moments, and found a solution for those different things that came up when we came into the pitch competition. So I highly recommend that whatever you're lacking in your team, as we were talking about earlier before we started recording, when if there's somebody or something on your team that is missing, or an idea that you don't get, find that thing or that person to add that to your team. It's going to be really helpful. So I was really thinking about my journey and the top skills that was needed, not only just in that pitch competition, or but also what I've heard other entrepreneurs say. And then I also did a little digging and research. There's an article that Forbes had did, and Forbes had really put it down to these top 10 skills. And I'm gonna share that those top 10 with you today. Um, the top 10 skills that Forbes had listed was curiosity, time management, strategic thinking, efficiency, resilience, communication, networking, finance, branding, and sales. And I have to agree with all of these. And there's some other skills that we'll kind of throw and weave in there today, but these are all great skills. Now, the two that I want to focus on in this training today, because we could spend all day talking about all of these, right? But we only got an hour. So I decided to go with the first two, curiosity and time management, to do a really a good deep dive into that. Now, when we think about curiosity, what comes to mind for you when you think about curiosity? Go ahead and put your comments in the chat, and then I'll have them read it out. What comes to mind when you hear the term curiosity? What comes to mind for you? And if you could read out what they're typing in there.
Knowledge seeker. We got knowledge seeker.
Knowledge seeker, yeah. What else?
Learning something new or always questing something you don't know. Questioning. Question. I was like questing. So learning
Yeah,
something new and always questioning something you don't know. There's
yeah,
also never ending passion to learn,
yeah.
lifelong learning.
Are you guys reading my bio? What's going on here? I feel like somebody's reading my bio. But those are all correct, right? Now, why is curiosity important when you think about the world of entrepreneurship? Why do you think curiosity is so important?
Because you have passion. One of
Yeah,
the comments, yeah.
passion, and that passion will lead you to seeking solutions or um trying out new things, right? Any other comments in there?
Keeps you responsive,
Absolutely, keeps you
yeah.
responsive.
Enjoying new things, enjoying learning new things.
Nah.
There's also don't have solutions from the beginning.
Hmm. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and I would say from my own personal journey, the curiosity of just learning about, oh, what is this startup weekend? What is the tech world? Which led me on my entrepreneurial journey in the first place. So let's do this. I got a quick video I want to show you that really talks about the importance of curiosity. So let's play this real quick. Let me unplug, plug.
One of the most common phrases I hear from entrepreneurs is, it's too late. I'm too old. I should have started my business a long time ago, and I'm not a young kid anymore. Can't do it. And I love to come back and say, actually, if you look at the data, you are completely wrong on this. The average patent applicant is 47. The most valuable patents often come from people who are over 55. The way that we sustain our creativity over time is not through all of a sudden having a vision and then immediately knowing what to do with it. It's through tinkering, experimenting, going down rabbit holes and trying ideas that we never would have considered before. If you think about it, right, a lot of creativity comes from moments that are the opposite of deja vu. There's actually a name for them. They're called vujade. And vujade is that feeling that we all love, where you look at something you've seen many times before, but suddenly you recognize it with fresh eyes. And we all need to have more of those. And the easiest way to have them is to immerse yourself in a new domain. Even the hobbies you pick up can really matter. So if you look at Nobel Prize winning scientists, you will find that Nobel Prize winners are significantly more likely to have artistic hobbies than their peers. And those seem to play a role in breakthrough insights and innovations. And Galileo, first astronomer to spot mountains on the moon, but not the first astronomer to look through a telescope and see those exact images. He was just the first one to recognize them. Why? He was trained in a drawing technique that involved the use of shading to represent changes in elevation. And when he saw different dark and light spots on the moon, he realized those had to be mountains. So just pursuing a hobby that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone can often give you a new lens for seeing. And that can help you become more creative, however old you are.
All right, did that plug back in? Testing 1 2 1 2. Give me a
Sounds
thumbs
good.
up. Yeah. All right, cool. Awesome. So, um, how many of you in the chat box ever had a Vuja Day moment? Any Vuja Day moments? You can just say yes in the chat box. Do we got some Vuja Day people in here? Hopefully, you guys have some Vuja Day moments. I noticed that for me. Oops. Let's go to the next slide. Some of my Vuja Day moments came around 2015 when I was working in a San Diego Workforce Partnership, and during that time, most of my career was doing workforce development, right? And I still do some workforce development today, but what we were doing is we put together all this data to see what was going on in the economy of San Diego. Um, because employers, there was a shift going on in the workforce space where um, people were getting more education, but there was still a lack of individuals in certain fields in the workplace, whether it be healthcare, whether it be tech, and all these different work fields that we were looking at. And when we looked at the data, we looked at what was coming out of the education system and what people were going in careers for, which was creating shortages in different career pathways. So we attempted to address that by giving training across all the school districts to counselors, and interviewing all the companies out there. And I got a chance to work with all these different amazing companies and HR companies to see what their needs were for their workforce. What was their startup needs? What kind of people did they need to help them get to the next level? And in those conversations, there was a list of skills that we will often hear about, which we'll call it soft skills, right? Who knows what soft skills are? Name some soft skills in the chat box. What's some soft skills? When you think of the term soft skills, what are soft skills? What do we see?
We got personable, communication skills.
Yeah,
Oh, my phone's ringing.
communication skills,
Teamwork.
teamwork. Yeah, because I always say teamwork makes the dream work, and all those are correct, right? And some of the things that we were hearing over and over from CEOs, from HR directors, people who own companies, hey, you know what? I wanna hire more more students if I can. I want to do paid internships. I want to do this, but here's what I need. I often get these individuals coming into our workforce, but here's what I'm lacking from them. Like these are some essential soft skills, whether it be communication, organization, critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, and it was funny enough when I made my transition over to working with entrepreneurs and what they saying that they were needing too. These are some of the same things that they were needing. So, in other words, my entrepreneurial people and my career people were saying the same thing, that they needed all these different skill sets. And these are things that sometimes you can't get necessarily from a degree or learning in school. You could get the basics of the writing, but nobody could teach you how to be an effective communicator. That's something that you kind of learned, whether you're in your entrepreneurial journey or you learn on your own. And these are certain things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have or start to develop along the way that make them successful. So keep this in mind when you're looking at those different keys of success when you're looking at your entrepreneurial journey as well. And I won't go fully, like that's the Zoom part. So when I was going through my journey, some of the things that I started to see in that aspect of curiosity is I started learning different skills from different interactions. Like at Qualcomm, I did the Think a Bit lab. And in the Think a Bit lab, I started learning some different tech and science terms and how they did business. And that led me down a different journey. I started also meeting with people from government. I got to meet the wonderful Mayor Faulkner and got to see how they did business from a government standpoint of view and how programs were built, how funding strategies were built out. I also got to meet with really high profile entrepreneurs, people who they started their own small companies. How many of you guys are familiar with Oprah Winfrey. Anybody familiar with Oprah Winfrey in there? I can't tell. Does anybody know who this person is? Who knows who this person is? Anybody? What did they say in the chat?
Of course. That's funny. Oh,
Go ahead, Billy. Who's that?
I grew up watching Oprah Winfrey. She's
Oh,
a
you
talk show host and a pretty amazing serial entrepreneur.
yeah. So who's this man? Who do you think this man is? This is the man Oprah dates.
Oh,
How many guys have ever heard of Stedman Graham? Stedman Graham, he's been Oprah's lifetime partner for the longest time, and he actually lives here in San Diego. And he has his own company, and he's very successful in his own right. Not Oprah status successful, but he's a very successful businessman. And the man next to him is a gentleman that I met. By the name of Nate Howard. He owns the company Movement B, and he's very successful. He's actually on a Netflix special right now, um, uh, with making the music or something. So I can't remember the full title, but he's on a current Netflix special. So all these different things that I encountered. I got the chance to really talk with individuals in these different companies, different spaces, and I also got to learn about them, how they got to where they are. So in that identity of curiosity, it's not just about learning different skill sets that you could bring back to your company, but a lot of the things I also heard from them and what I learned from them, it's also having the curiosity of who you are, right? And learning who you are and how you're going to show up in your company, how you're going to lead your company. And when those tough times get going, when those decisions come to you where you have to choose between pivoting or going in a different revenue model, or somebody comes to you with the idea that says, hey, we're going to give you money, but we want you to go in this route. You have to really know who you are and stick to the values, your beliefs, your character, and so forth for that to be successful. Because if you go against the grain of how you truly feel and your values and your beliefs, because you're following the path of the money in the direction of your company, sometimes that may not lead you to the right success path for you and your own individual endeavors in your company. So curiosity has a twofold aspect. There's the curiosity of knowing who you are and the curiosity of knowing other entities that could have these pivotal aha moments to lead you to the right business choices or implement some new things into your company that lead you to your success. Now, let's jump into time management because that's the other next thing that we talk about when we talk about success as an entrepreneur. And I have a fun video that I want to kind of share with you and get your thoughts on before we get started in talking about that. Now, oftentimes I talk to testing one, two. Often talk to entrepreneurs, and a lot of the times they feel like their days are just exactly like that, right? And uh, This video is taken from, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Franklin Covey. Franklin Covey has an amazing book called the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and they have another one called the Five Choices. Now, a lot of people often associate Franklin Covey with just the daily planner. I'm not sure if you ever seen a Franklin Covey planner, but they do more than just do that. They do like leadership development trainings. They do decision and change management changes and trainings, and they have a lot of good tools that you can use at your disposal. And I highly recommend that you try out any of their um, um, training software, books, time management tools, and tricks. Um, but I'm not going to go into it fully. Now, here's the point to ponder from that video that you just watched. Um, a lot of people think that time management sometimes is just getting it all done, right? Making sure that we get everything on that to-do list done, clean out the whole email inbox. But it's not really about that. If you know your important task and you plan them, then the urgent and distractions will not determine the outcome of completing the important task. Because how often do we get with in our day with things that may be urgent for other people, but not quite urgent for us, but we find ourselves handling those tasks and we don't get the things that are most important to us done. And entrepreneurs have a hard time with this, really uh figuring out what should I be paying the most attention to and what should I be delegating, so that I'm not focusing all my time and energy on these tasks that are not going to get me to the next step or get me further along in my progress. Because sometimes you'll find yourself like a hamster in the wheel. You're just chasing the next thing, and then you've only made this amount of progress. So it's really taking a careful priority of planning and defining the milestones that you're supposed to reach next. That's what time management is. And there's a couple different tools that can help you get there. As I mentioned before, Seven Habits is one of them. Five Choices. Another thing that I got a video about this is called time blocking. How many and you guys can unmute yourselves for this uh question and answer part. How many of you guys ever done time blocking? Has anybody ever time blocking? Anybody familiar with it? Anybody familiar with time blocking? Well, let me ask this question. What things do you currently use to tools and techniques to manage your time? Let me hear from you guys. What are you guys currently using to manage your time? And you can unmute and chat or you can type it in.
Is time blocking where you block off sections of times on your calendar to do a specific task?
Yes, absolutely. And this is considered highly efficient. I know people say, "Oh, well, why block off time to do one task when I can multitask?" But science has shown and proven that we don't necessarily multitask well. What we're doing is we're our brain works so fast that we're micro shifting. We're not technically multitasking, doing things at one time. Was just we're able, if we've done a task repeatedly over and over again, we can easily shift from one task to the other real quickly, where it happens in milliseconds. What's some other tools and techniques you guys use out there? Let me hear from you guys. What do you guys use to for time management?
Google Calendar is something that I use and time block through there and schedule meetings through just all on my calendar.
Yeah, Google Calendar can be an excellent tool. I put Microsoft Outlook, but of course, same thing. You can use Google Calendar. Um, any other ones that we have out there? I'll take one more.
Planners, I see planners.
Yes, planners. We got any type of planner that you can use, right? Some people like to use OneNote, Evernote, or Apple Notes to kind of jot down little things. Of course, some people, if you go old school, if you're at your office, you got the sticky notes, right? And the good thing about like Evernote or Apple Notes, you can attach it to your Microsoft Outlook or your Google Outlook calendar, as a reminder to what you need to get done in that meeting, or if you have something that comes up in your agenda, right? So these are just different tools and techniques Now, time blocking is a really good one. I got a short video I want to show you on time blocking just to kind of really show you how it's done. So let's watch this quick video.
Most important decision that you'll make today is what you're going to pay attention to and what you're going to ignore. In interrupt-driven culture, it's just too easy to let other people decide how you're going to spend your next 10 minutes. But if you jump every single time a new email arrives or your BlackBerry buzzes or your phone rings, you're undermining your most important work and you could be costing your company money. Recent studies showed that unnecessary interruptions cost the US economy $650 billion in lost productivity. But your most important creative work requires your full attention for an extended period of time. And if you can't get that time in your office, you need to make it. Your brain needs at least 15 minutes to dive in, concentrate on one thing, and get you in the zone where you're doing your most productive and best work. Time blocking sets the stage for that to happen. When you got a project that requires deep thinking, block out hour-long meetings with yourself to focus only on that thing. Forward your phone to voicemail, shut down Microsoft Outlook. If you have to, take the files that you need, take your laptop, and go someplace else to work. Does this sound crazy? Even an employee really low on the totem pole can do this. I used to work as a software programmer at a busy office that had an open seating layout. Salespeople sat elbow to elbow next to graphic designers who sat next to engineers. Everyone constantly interrupted one another. When I was on deadline and I needed to crank something out, I would block an hour-long meeting with myself in a conference room. I put it on my calendar, so I showed up busy to everyone else in the company, so no one else could book me for a meeting. When the time came, I'd steal off to that conference room with my laptop, and I got some of my best work done alone in that room. Time blocking works best when you've got a discrete single task that requires deep thinking, like writing or brainstorming, researching, number crunching. Set a definite start and end time and go into your time block committed to getting a specific task done. If the internet is too much of a distraction, download the files and the email you need to get your work done and turn off your laptop's internet connection. When you work in an office where interruptions are the rule and not the exception, use time blocking to reclaim hours that you'd otherwise spend dealing with distractions.
Now, I don't know about you, but ever since COVID, I got some new coworkers. So my new is my little 3-year-old, or the wife comes in, or some of you guys might have roommates. So, and then they come in, and then after they come in, they might send you something like, "Hey, check your Instagram. Oh, I just saw this on. Oh, come see this." And then next thing I know, I get distracted for 30 minutes, and I'm like, "Oh, I need to focus on this thing. All right, stop sending me memes, right?" Because I get easily distracted. So I have to really be intentional. So when I come into here, which is my daughter's room, which is my new office, I have to be intentional about closing the door. And sometimes if I need that deep thinking, locking it and let them know, hey, look, I need a good hour. I see people already over there laughing at me. I need a good hour just to focus, because they'll come running in and out here. And people don't realize that little interruption, that leaves you off track for at least 30 minutes. And depending on how long it takes you to get into that deep dive rhythm of focus, it could be anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes before you get back into the zone. And that's where the real work, where that you start to get those real good creative juices going, and you find solutions and the right wording to the things that you're looking for. So you need to really set out that time. And like they said in the video, anybody can kind of do this, to set this time aside. All right. So let's talk about master task lists. So first, let me ask this question. How many of you guys make lists? In the chat box, just say yes. How many people make lists? How many people make lists? Do we have a couple of yeses?
Yeah, we got like about 7 yeses.
7 yeses. All right.
Yeah.
How many lists do you guys have? Do you have like a list for the business, list for work, list for the family? Do you have separate lists of where you put it at? Like, if you had to count up how many lists you have or keep, how many lists would you say you have?
They say a lot of them said they have all kinds of lists. Yeah,
And
one per day. Some
one
says
per day.
5.
So
Mm,
where do you
yeah.
guys keep your lists? Do you have two places that you keep your lists, or do you have one place? Do you like keep your whole list in Outlook, or do you keep your list in a planner, or do you keep your list on sticky notes? Where do you guys keep your list?
Notebooks, on a desk in front of them,
Okay.
Gmail, yeah, notebooks and Trello. Trello is
Mhm.
that, yeah, sticky note, paper, pen, calendar.
I see we got some sticky notes. My
Mhm.
coworker, not my new coworkers, but my old coworkers, she used to have sticky notes galore. She like have sticky notes all over the place, and I was like, man, how do you keep track of all this? She's like, and what I highly suggest is that however you do your task list, right? You need to have one master task list, right? Some people separate it out. This is my home task list. This is my life task list. This is my entrepreneurial journey task list. This is this company's task list. But there needs to be somewhere where you keep all these tasks aligned so it can keep you organized between your personal, your home, and your business life. And I usually recommend that you keep it in Outlook or your Google Calendar somewhere so that you don't drop the ball on anything, and it's very fluid between how you need to organize and schedule your time. Um, no matter what life throws at you. And you can still have all these other things, but make sure there's one task list for every single thing that's in your life. It's going to make a difference for you. I promise you. Now, one more video I'm gonna share what that really talks about and bring it home for the importance of time management, and then we'll go into some tools, tips, and best kept secrets.
The importance of time management includes reducing stress, gaining time, reducing avoidance, while promoting reviews and eliminating cramming. Another importance is that managing time helps us to stay motivated while we avoid procrastination. The trick to successful time management is setting up goals that work while having an awareness of those goals and prioritizing your list of goals. When you set up an effective time management plan, you are growing and upholding a personal commitment to yourself with the ability to be more flexible. When you have a great time management plan, you are giving yourself an individual chance to generate a timetable that works to suit your busy caseload. When you create a good plan, you will soon find time to do all the things that matter most to you in life. In addition, when you have a good time management plan, you are saving your health. Plans have a scheduled time, which includes all the activities you are responsible to handle. Your master timetable should include all the most important activities you are responsible to handle. It is important that you modify this schedule according to your time changes. When you set up a master timetable, you will need to list the priorities first and work your way down to the least important tasks. It is important that you follow as you write the tasks first listed. In other words, if you state on your master timetable that you need to write up some documents for your business, then do this task first and proceed to the next task. Try to avoid handling multitasking at once unless it is your job and you are sufficient and have laid out a time management plan. You will also need to include meals, sleep, family, friends, yourself, and other tasks if they are a part of your time management. By setting up a master timetable, you can work out your time scheme by working through the list on the time chart. Try to avoid skipping a scheduled task or procrastinating, since this will only delay your plan. It is important to keep in mind that time is essential. When we waste time, we are wasting money. After you have laid out a suitable scheduled timetable, you will soon learn that your motivation has increased while your progress is moving ahead. In addition, you will soon find that your stress level is at a normal state. When you are not focused or do not have a time management plan, you are only hurting yourself in the long run. Most people without a time management plan often suffer with poor health, insomnia, and other discomforting issues. Some people even find themselves in court waiting for the judge to say, "You are now divorced." So you can see that time management is important since it affects everyone around you. But most of all, it affects you. A final tip: exercise and eating right plays an essential role to time management, since when you feel good, you work well under a management plan.
So I wanted to include because I think we sometimes forget how important time management is. Not only is it important for productivity, but it's important for health reasons as well, which could then have some influences on productivity, right? So the five choices and the seven habits, what I gave you guys earlier, it has some tips and tricks in there in reference to how do you best make that master task list so that you're tackling all the important things, and it gives it in quadrants. And when it talks about quadrants, like you have your quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's say your quadrant 1 is all your high producing activities, right? And the things that are most important to you, like maybe relationships with family, high income activities, right? So like instead of you focusing on non-important emails that don't produce value or money, you you make sure that you put those emails that are distractions in quadrant, let's say if quadrant 2, like maybe this email is important but it's not producing high value, right? So we put it in quadrant 2. Let's say if you know me cooking dinner is of high value because it's good for my health, then I put that in quadrant 1. So I make time to buy groceries so that I can cook dinner. It all depends on where you put different things in building blocks, right? The key here is when you're looking at that master task list, that let's say if you're spending 4 hours watching TV, a television show, and you see that on your on your master task list, and you got 4 hours here, but over here in quadrant 1 you also need 4 hours to get this business plan done. Then what you need to do is you need to shift things from this quadrant 4 over to here. Now resting and recharging is still important, but do we need 4 hours of it, and does it need to be 4 hours in a TV in front of a television, right? So really putting it in those buckets helps you kind of align and see where are you spending the most importance at in your day. And I really highly recommend that you guys look up Seven Habits, Five Choices if you can. It gives you a really good framework of how the best leaders in the industry do it. Another one, my newfound secret that I found that has worked for me is Calendly. And I see that I'm not mentioning any names, but I see somebody else in here has found Calendly too, which helps me out with my organizing, especially if you're looking at meeting with other people, doing podcasts, interviews, or just meetings in general. It really does such a good job at helping you stay organized with your calendar, scheduling people in your calendar to set up meetings. And it has plugins that work with your Zoom, any other software or things that you do interface or interactions with. So I highly recommend it. They got a free version if you need to go beyond the free version. They might have plans, I think, for students that you can get um, a student account, which will be probably less expensive than the business account. But don't quote me on that. I think they do. Um, Now, so what else would you do you need as an entrepreneur? You need qualities like passion, tenacity, vision, and self confidence, right? Um, a great idea that people that that people would pay money for, right? And you'll do this in that curiosity phase. The market will start to tell you whether you have a great idea, because people will start to say, you know what, that's a really great idea. Like, how, how much would that cost me? Like, when do you plan to launch your product so I can buy it? The market will definitely tell you whether you have a good product. and also a plan of success. Poor planning, sometimes equals the result of, us not really doing our diligence and our due work. And then consistent execution of the plan. Sometimes consistency is that thing that keeps us going and getting us to the next level. I mean, I've been following you guys at the rec, and the consistency of these workshops, right, is which is what has been sustaining the growth. And consistency is key with a lot of the things we do, from the social media, from our business plan, and so on. Our health, diet, we stay consistent. Doesn't mean you try to do it all at once, but little pieces here and there, staying consistent on the path eventually adds up. So consistency is key. Now, another thing that I like to always recommend, and I talked about this in our last episode, is if you're still trying to figure out where to start at, I say start with why, right? Why, not just why do you want this thing, but um, if you've already gotten to the point where you figured out the thing, why is it that you do what you do? What's your purpose? Because this is what's going to keep you staying consistent and showing up each and every day. um how do you do what you do, right? Like, because that's the secret sauce in your business, because not everybody's going to do it the same way that you do it. And then there's that what you do, right? What industry are you in? What are you the business of? And Simon Sinek does a great job. I'm not going to try to repeat what he does when he does this framework. But if you haven't seen the video on his TED Talk, definitely look it up. It's a really good TED Talk, and he goes into the science of why. And that book right there, Start with Why, is a great one to add to your collection if you don't have anything. Then I would say confidence, right? Um, whether you're a Kanye West fan or not, um, confidence is key when it comes to producing the outcomes of your product, and the success of people who do business with you, and moving forward, right? You see Kanye West here. This is not the album of the year. This is the album of life. Now, I'm not saying get all Taylor Swift mode on me and like, hey, I'm gonna let you finish, but be confident, and be confident in a way where you're able to talk about that product or the service that you're bringing to the market in the way that inspires others and want others to learn about it, not in a way that it uh, like turns people off, but in the way that you're like, well, I think this product may be good for you. I think this, I would really like, but no, nah, this is a great product. This is, if you're not taking this product out, I don't know any other product out here that's gonna get you these results, right? So have that level of confidence. Channel your inner Kanye, not the one that cut Taylor Swift off, but the Kanye that's the brilliant genius that creates these things. All right, so great books that you can dive into. That like I said, Start with Why. There's other books that you see on here, Zero to One. Um, but always keep surrounding yourself with this things that you can read and tap into as far as knowledge. And then you guys are gonna have to tell me what the comments say a little bit later. We'll dive to that at the Q&A part. So books. I have a ton of books that you'll see on my shelf here that I dive into, and sometimes I have to re-dive into to kind of get knowledge and resources from. Podcasts. These are some of my favorite podcasts that I listen to, um, that have given me ideas, tips, tricks. Side Hustle School is a really quick podcast that tells you about the journey of other entrepreneurs, like within 5 minutes, and how they got to where they were. Entrepreneur is on Fire is really in depth, and going into um, the tools, tips, techniques, and the businesses of other entrepreneurs. Gary V, he's very inspirational, and Peter Vu, they're very inspirational, and they give some of their own tips and tricks as well, and to what made them successful. So dive into podcasts. If you're not using the SBDC, I don't know what you're doing. They give a ton of free resources. You get your own advisor who can help you with your business plan, business strategies, connect you to different networks, even funding from different conferences, angel investors, and so on. Once you're getting to that round of looking for seed money, so definitely check those out. So what now? Some things that I kind of suggest, just if you haven't done so already, find the right business that works for you. Determine what education you need to get there, whether that be from books, podcasts. It doesn't have to always be a formal, like you need a degree. You're planning your business, create that business plan, find your target group or audience, and network. Really network. I can't say this enough. Networking has created wonders for me in my career. I've networked with the right people who led me down the right path or shared the right resource with me. And then really sell your idea and vision, which means you have to really know yourself and really know who you are and believe in that vision so that you can be able to sell it to others. And then also really get to know your market. What is the market doing right now? Where is your niche in the market? And how can you disrupt the market or come in and be that new thing in the market that the market has never seen, or be a better product in that market, um, that allows you to really secure your spot and space in the market. So that's it for me today. You can find more about me on my website. You can definitely feel free to email me or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. With that being said, I'll open it up to questions, comments, concerns, all of the above.
Great job. Thank you so much, Taryell. As always, really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. It was wonderful. So I don't know if there was any questions in the chat, but looks like we're good. If you have any questions, feel free to shout them out.
That speak now or forever hold your peace. I didn't think I was going to get through that in time enough. I was like, all right, I got to learn how to condense this down and not give them the long route.
Thinking that was so funny that if we went over on time when we were talking about time management.
Yeah. I was like, I can't go overtime on time management. That was just.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'd love to do now then, if we don't have any other questions, is I'd like to.
We have a question.
Sorry, Nona.
Yeah. How do you personally stay motivated?
How do I personally stay motivated? I tap into my why, right? So part of the reason why I do the things that I do, because I want to help other entrepreneurs, help people of color achieve their highest potential, right? So that really taps into my motivation. And anytime I get down, I look at, people who I've met. I also look at my little daughter, who's very curious about everything, and I want to be that role model for her. So I continue to strive to be the best version of myself by continuously educating myself and surrounding myself with people who have that same drive and motivation. And then when I'm on empty, they tap into me, I tap into them, and we get re-energized and invigorated. So.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that. I was wondering if you guys wouldn't mind taking a picture together. Anybody wouldn't mind? If you wouldn't mind, you can turn on your cameras now, and I just like to commemorate the day. And I know if you need to get going, I know some of you have midterms at 1. So if you need to duck out, I understand, and we will see you at the next one. Those of you who can stick around and take a photo, I'd love that too. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for turning on your cameras, those of you who are doing that. And I'll stop the recording.
Look at all these lovely faces.
I know, right? It's one of my favorite parts. I get to see people's faces.